Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are, another podcast show, and I'm very, very pleased to have a special guest today. And the guest I'm talking about is Dr. Harpreet Singh. And the reason, very special, is one little accolade that's been given amongst many, which is the first Indian woman CEO of an airline. So Dr. Harpreet, well done you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. So lovely to be here.
Brilliant. Now, if I may, one of the roles that you had before that was that of aviation security. You were the executive director of flight safety. I said security there. I meant to say safety or flight safety, which in itself is a very powerful role as well. Now, if you wouldn't mind, if you could tell me and all of our listeners how you moved into that position and then how you transferred across to the CEO role, and then obviously you'll explain how you've now gone back to the airline side.
Okay, so thank you, Chris, for asking this lovely question, because I was never expecting to be executive director of flight safety, to be honest. I started off as a pilot, but couldn't continue due to medical reasons. But I became a trainer first of pilots and, flight dispatch, cabin, and I grew in the ops department and was technically involved in a lot of things. I became a CRM facilitator, human factors, and I grew then in the quality department. And when IOSA started, we were just given this big manual and we had to work around it. So I had to coordinate with all the departments. So I got familiar with the compliance requirements. I was familiar with what the international best standards were. And I was familiar anyway with training, etc. So when the position of flight safety was being considered, they just felt that keeping my background in ops and in quality and in training, etc., that I could be considered for the post. And my CMD then had actually nominated my name, and I went through an interview and selection along with some active pilots. But for whatever reason, the regulator thought I met the role, and I was very excited to be the flight safety head, and I knew it's a very responsible role. So I immediately got into action, and I grew a lot during those 5 years of being, 5 years is not a less time, because I was chief of flight safety for 5 years. And I managed to get all our compliances and all our safety requirements, whether it was EASA, FAA, or whether it was the best practices in India as well as abroad, introduced the safety management system, tried to work on the safety culture, and brought in a lot of change, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And
can I ask you something?
Yes, sure.
Sorry to jump in there, but you've given an awful lot of information back there. Now, change and transformation, especially within safety, and you mentioned the word responsibility. Too many people don't appreciate that, yes, you can be responsible for certain positions, but if you're in certain positions, you're actually accountable. And you've got ICAO there in the background, and ICAO states very clearly that you can delegate responsibility, but you can't delegate accountability. Now, in your experience, did you see it as a challenge that so many senior managers don't actually appreciate that, and that a lot of them consider QHSS&E, any of those particular elements, as being done by QHSS&E titled persons, instead of them assuming the responsibility and accountability for their own business units?
You're absolutely correct, because this is an issue, and this is a real issue across the world. Initially, I would also think it is something only in our country, in our culture. Yes, there are certain variations from country to country. But I have traveled now across the world. I've been auditing across the world because I'm also an IOSA and ISECO auditor. And I see the same challenge. I see the same problem, that wherever I've gone, the quality head or the safety head, it's almost like it's your problem to sort out all the gaps. And it is not the problem of the business head or the operational head of that functional area to actually fix the problem. So, and if you have findings, they're all looking at the quality head and saying, why did we get these findings? But these findings were given to you in the first place by the quality department, right? And you didn't fix it. So now we have this external body coming and giving the same finding, right? So yes, it is a challenge. But somewhere I feel you learn a lot and you grow a lot in this department. However challenging it is, you have to balance your human factor in such a way that you have to make it sound that you're really doing it for them. You're supporting them, you're helping them rebuild, you have to win over that trust. It is not always easy to get that to happen, because people feel, even when you get one finding, that you're getting personally, you're attacking someone. That's the feeling. And
It's
therefore
crazy, isn't it?
so it becomes like you're just auditing a system, you're not auditing that individual.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, because accountability and responsibility get quite mixed up. And people want to just, not be accountable, even on paper if they are. It is just a paper tick box, like, I'm accountable, he's accountable, but they don't even understand the meaning of accountabilities at times, so.
And that's a huge shame in any organization. And I also find in a lot of organizations, they don't give the amount of time that's necessary to something that can absolutely ruin a business quicker than they can ever imagine. And they're always busy being busy and not busy being better. And they want everything on half a page, or they get caught up in detail instead of sitting down and getting to know what they should be doing in accordance with their accountability.
So I've always felt that this can be addressed when there's an integrated approach. I've always believed that instead of working in silos, you should have integrated management systems. Yep. That means the safety, quality, etc., they're not separate. They're separate only because they have to audit you or something for avoiding conflict of interest. But otherwise, in the organization, they're part and parcel of the vision that the airline is trying to, meet, or the goals that they're trying to set. And they have to be together in this. And if that can be done, which I experimented in Alliance Air when I was the CEO, I tried to work in that integrated approach where everybody was speaking safety, everybody was speaking profitability, and everybody was speaking integrity and cooperation with each other. You have to be on the same page. And you need a good leader for that, to actually understand and bring everybody together on the same vision platform.
Brilliant. And I would imagine whenever you had a meeting, irrespective whether it was finance, marketing, whether it was operations, whether it was HR, etc., you would have launched or made an emphasis that safety is of the paramount importance for the aviation industry. So safety should always be included in all of those meetings, which sadly, I don't find in a lot of organizations that I've been involved in. And you end up with the support services dictating to the core business what should be done.
You're right, absolutely. And you're also right that in my meetings when I was the CEO, I used to insist, even if it was just being planned, like there's a new airport we have to fly to, and there's some lot of technical, issues being discussed, involve the safety people there itself in the beginning. Let it be a collaborative understanding, and so that we work together and not in silos and against each other, and if the safety person raises a genuine concern, the typical reaction initially will be, oh, he's just not wanting this operation to happen. That's not true. He's just doing his job and flagging a concern. I'll also give you one practical example. There was an airport which we were told to operate to as a part of the government plan to connect to the 2-tier, 3-tier cities.
I was going to say tier 2 and tier 3.
And I was not happy with the safety setup in that airport because it had never been used as an airport by anyone. And I did not wait for the regulator to tell me what to do. I insisted, even if it costed money, I said, you will do a trial flight, you will do a proving flight, land there, check the navigational aids, check the system, and I budgeted the cost for that. And nobody needed to ask me for it. I just did it on my own. And the regulator later on said, oh, that's good if you did it. We were just thinking we'll clear you anyway. So you don't do things only to tick the box to please the regulator. You do it because you believe in it. And that is what is important. That's the difference.
And it's a huge difference. And it's lovely to hear you talking like that, because again, and we spoke about the ISARPs and about people getting caught up in tick box exercises. But another thing that happens is people complete a task and think that's it. And then to validate it is, again, just to endorse that something's been done. But very seldom does a third party or an independent actually verify that it's in place, it's having an impact, and it's effective. And I think that's where post-COVID, people have to be more alert now, because you can't rely on what somebody said, and you definitely can't rely on what some of the systems do, because it's very easy to lose yourself in safety in a system without integrating with people. And I think that verification now is so important, as is risk, as is worst case scenario, and as is being aware of what can happen, God forbid, if something goes wrong on the ground.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right on that. And again, if the objective is only to tick the box, which unfortunately a lot of people are like that, unfortunately, because they don't believe in it. They don't actually think about it in a rational manner, or they think it will not happen to me. This is somebody else's job. And unless you believe in something, you're not going to put your heart and soul into it. And the ISARP is not meant to be a tick box. Actually, if you read the spirit behind the ISARP, if you go behind the spirit, not just the words, it says a lot. It is, again, what you want to take out of it or you don't want to take out of it. It is, yes, I can tick it, but did I really do what was expected? I mean, that's the real question.
Exactly. And thank heavens now there's a lot more emphasis on the actual implementation rather than the instruction. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is great. Now, as far as what you're saying about tier 2 and tier 3 airports and the size of the airports, did you or do you find a different perspective in those smaller regional airports because of the fact that people are responsible and accountable for so much more than just a departmental responsibility?
You're talking at the airport itself?
Yeah. So
yes, of course, because it's like when you go to because when you go to a small city, the people are very passionate. They're excited that there's going to be a aircraft landing here. They never had an air connection. They're looking forward to it. They're trying to make everything happen correctly. But you have to be a little careful there that sometimes they're so excited that they want you to do it today. And the airport may not be ready. There's still graveling to be done. The navaids may not be fully functional. So you have to play along, but not get pushed. You have to know that your risk assessment has to be done very correctly, accurately, and with a balancing technique, you introduce the flight so that you remain safe. I think that's what's important. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, some of the airports and the locations, I think most people wouldn't even have heard of before. Like, I mean, you've got Holongi, Zero, Dibrugarh, Imphal, Silchar.
Yeah, they're in the northeast.
You got Bangalore. You got
these... Bangalore is a big city, by the way. Bangalore is actually, the old name was Bangalore.
Yeah.
It's a big city in Karnataka. It's the IT hub. Yeah.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is most of the people in the industry they wouldn't know of the names, and there's so many airports in your backyard of responsibility. It's amazing.
Absolutely. But it's also thrilling because it's also challenging. It's how you approach your normal work. If you are proud of what you're doing and you believe in what you're doing, you enjoy what you're doing, right? And all these things then just come together. Then you do it with the right kind of intention, the right kind of spirit. So
you certainly come across as somebody who's very engaged and enjoying what you're doing. Now, the other thing I've got to bring up as well, which is also, I think now that I know it comes across in your personality and your delivery. But you're very into spiritual and giving back and looking after people. So, the Angels of Air India and the Hearts program. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, because I just believe that as we are humans first, right? And air transportation actually is like connecting hearts together. You're taking people from one place to the other. You're actually connecting the whole world in a way. So I find that like a spiritual connection where you look at one consciousness, like the whole universe being connected, and not just the Earth now, the other planets as well. So we are moving in that direction. But yes, during COVID, I just realized that people were undergoing a lot of fear. And I felt that the fear was actually attracting the disease. Because when you're powerful in your thought, the aura is such that, you spread that positive vibration. I always believe the chances of your catching sickness is that much less. I'm not saying it will never happen, but the chances really come down. So you need to be positive. And we used to then have these meditation sessions, which I started calling universal prayers, from different faiths, multi-faith, multi-religion, multi-acceptance. It was just for humanity. And, and even today we have this big group that we joined up. And since I was more on the spiritual journey, I started this organization called Harps, which is actually pure soul love and service for all. In Hindi, it means Har Se Prem or Seva. That means love and service for all. And it was actually started to integrate spirituality with business, spirituality with industry, and finding a way around all this so-called, worldly madness, if I call it that way, when you get out of this illusionary world. And, we are blessed to be in aviation. When you're in the sky, like you as it is feel detached from whatever you're doing. You look at life from outside. And if you can keep doing that all the time, you're in a very blessed position. And then you integrate what I call the pure soul quotient, PSQ, into your daily life. When you do things with pure intention, with integrity, with honesty, people can make out, right, that you are truthful. They will be drawn towards you. They will support you. They will cooperate with you. And even those who are not for you, at least they will not be against you to the same level that they would have been without that energy. And I've tested it many times, and it works. And they say, if you work thinking that you are working for the Almighty, God himself comes and does the work for you. So, it's like whether you call God or source or energy are different names of whichever way you want to believe, but it is there, so let's use that energy in a nice way.
I think so. I think I've got a list of people I'm going to refer to you. See if you're able to do something for them, because
absolutely.
Negativity.
And by the way, I do all this. I even do the past life regressions and life between life and all that, and I do everything for free. I don't charge money because I just feel this is something which is God given, and you have to give back. This is not a commercial enterprise.
Yeah. No. Fair play.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I'm sure there'll probably be some people reaching out to you now once this goes out. So good luck to that. Now, just getting
more
back,
than welcome.
Brilliant. Getting back to SMS, and you mentioned about human factor. Now, all the pressures that are coming post-COVID, with so many experienced people leaving the industry, deciding they want to do something else with their lives, etc., and then people coming in and not getting the correct, or at least the amount of necessary training to get to a competent level, and then all of the other pressures with time, with not enough staff, etc. Those pressures are creating now a very nervous, sensitive time for safety.
You're right, because I'm also part of this aeronautical skill working group set up by IATA.
Yeah.
And I think I'm the only one in this region at present who's in that group. Yeah. And we did a full study and analysis on what's going on in the rest of the world. And it is challenging because the COVID, we lost out on a lot of recency of a lot of skilled categories. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were, just missing in action, if I may call it that way, because they were just not there. And many of them are not coming back, or even if they're coming back, they are quite outdated. And the company that has made losses during this COVID time is not having the resources to finance all their simulators and all their refreshers. It's a catch-22 because the airlines did not, they lost a lot of money. Though it was a win-win for some who were innovative, and we used the cargo to get the activities back by transporting a lot of daily necessities and vaccines and stuff like that. In India itself, we did a lot of Vande Bharat flights, doing a lot of aircraft evacuation. I did 187 safety risk assessments in a period of hardly few months, which I had never done before. Like every time we operated to a new airport to get evacuation of people done from a certain city, it was a challenge, but then you had to do it because we had to work around the clock to make that happen. So SMS definitely shows a level of risk, and we need to mitigate it correctly. And we need to make sure that we are not just compliant, but we are actually above the compliance level. And we are actually going above it so that we remain safe and, we remain, because I do agree the airlines are also facing a big challenge to come back to normalcy. But now a lot has changed already. I think we are already on the positive comeback. We've not reached that full point yet, but we're definitely moving in the positive direction. So we have to learn from the past and be prepared for it for the future.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So we're nearly at the end of the time now. Can I ask you, what do you see as the upside now moving forward? Because, you've got a lot of positivity. How do you think things will work out for the better moving forward, and why?
I always view that everything is perfect. Everything is going to move for a better purpose. So when you ask me a question like this, I just feel that everything happens for a very good reason, and it's how you look at it and how do you deal with it. And I see positivity in not just people, but in the entire universe. I can see that things are shifting for a very valid reason. People have learned through the COVID and have become much better human beings, and they have become much better enablers. And the aviation community that took a hit has come back with a bang, and we are going to really, really come back and go much higher than where we were before.
Well, there you go. Hey, you heard it first. Well done. But yeah, people have to be positive because there's far too many people who keep talking things down all the time. But to be realistic and have a nice balance is important. So somebody with your engagement and enthusiasm, there should be a lot more people like yourself in the industry. And coming back to the original introduction, well done.
Thank you.
For being the first Indian woman CEO of an airline. Fantastic.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now that you're back because of the
disinvestment of Air India.
Exactly, yeah. And you had to make a personal choice. You've got a big task ahead of you as well.
Yes, and I'm enjoying it because firstly, we're back to a private company, but that was the Tata company which started Air India. Yes. And which believes in ethics, which believes in values, which believes in service to the nation. So it resonates with me. And, and they're really expanding. They have big future plans of growth. So I'm really looking forward to this journey of transformation, change, and growing Air India and back to its old glory to be the #1 airline in the world. It is going to happen.
Yeah, good on you. Well, I hope we keep in touch. I'm definitely going to keep in touch with you after this. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And wishing you great success in your new role.
I love this interview. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Salam Raja as well, who's actively helping in this recording. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks very much indeed.